My name is Sean Chandler. I have a YouTube channel called Sean Chandler Talks About. I started it on a whim back in July of 2016. My wife and I went on a date night to go see Lady Ghostbusters. And this is the actual picture we took on date night that night. And went home. The internet was going insane, like, this movie ruined my childhood. And other people were like, if you don't like it, it's because you're a sexist. And I was like, what? Maybe we could have a normal review of this movie, and posted it. 2.5 years later, I was able to go full-time, taking my nerdy hobby of talking about movies way too much on the internet. I went full-time, and that will be 5 years. Actually, this month, we're about 2 weeks away from my 5-year anniversary of full-time on YouTube. I have a silver play button. I'm a Rotten Tomatoes certified critic. I've been to awards shows, worked red carpets, all of that fun stuff. And it all goes back to this date night, which it's always interesting. You never know which day, which decision will change the trajectory of your life. And that's why I'm passionate about this subject. This changed my life. What we're going to talk about today, it changed each of our lives. And I guess that means I'm one of the few people that can say Lady Ghostbusters changed my life for the better. The stars of the movie can't even say that. But that's why I'm passionate about this. That's why I want to pass this along to you as much as I can, but I got a lot to cover. I could talk about this for 3 hours straight, but because I want to have my friends come up and help with this, I cannot do that. So first off, the key to growing on YouTube, and I'm going to move really, really fast, is you have to learn how to get people's attention and keep it. When people think about growing on YouTube, they want me to say, do 1, 2, 3, and you will get 4, 5, and 6. But it doesn't work that way, because everyone's different, every audience is different, and it's a series of experiments trying to figure out how you can capture people's attention, how you can stand out. And what normally happens is when you start a YouTube channel or TikTok, you start doing what other people were doing that inspired you to start. And so you watched them, you start doing what they did. You're a cover band. And that's great when you're starting out and you need the repetitions, but if you make the same videos as everyone else, you compete with everyone else. And if you make the same videos as me because I inspired you, you're just generic brand me. And so you have to find a way to stand out and do something that's different enough, that gets attention, flashy enough that it gets attention, so you don't just get lost in the crowd of videos out there. Like, I talk about movies for a living. There is no shortage of movie reviews on YouTube or the newspaper or anywhere else. You can just go to Rotten Tomatoes. The number of certified critics is in the thousands. There's not a shortage. So you have to find, in my space, I have to find a way to stand out talking about movies. And you experiment and you figure out where there's something you're uniquely good at. And it's not a simple process. It's not a linear process, and it takes time. This is as basic as it gets in one sense, but it's also as pivotal. If you want your channel to grow, you have to learn how to get people to click and to stick. Click on your video and stick around until the end of the video. That sounds so basic, but most people don't think about their videos that way. They don't stop and think, is this title interesting? Is this thumbnail one that catches people's eyes? Do I deliver on the promise of the title? Why would someone choose to give their time to your video? With all the other things they could be doing, why would they choose to click on yours? And why would they stick around? Like, you have to pause and think about that. So how do you get the click? You need an enticing idea, title, and thumbnail. And it's just like at the core of everything, you need an interesting idea. Argyle movie review, Swim Night movie review, Mean Girls movie review. That's not interesting. Like, I did that video, but it didn't do very well for me because it's not interesting. It's not specifically unique amongst other videos that are out there. So if you want to break through, you need an idea that stands out. It's interesting enough that tickles people's brains a little bit and they go, oh, that's interesting. And you want to click on it. Then you need a title that captures that creates a tickle in people's brains that can only be itched, or an itch that can only be scratched by clicking on the video, and a thumbnail that visually teases the value that will be delivered. You need ideas which are clear and stand out. It can't be confusing. If you need a paragraph to explain the idea for your video, it's probably not a good idea for a video. People all the time are like, you should do this video, and they pitch it to me. And if you put all that together, it's a pretty fun idea, but no one would ever click on it because it's so complicated that no one would know what the video is until they've watched it. And so you have to have something that's understandable by people. You need titles and thumbnails. I said this just a second ago, that tease the brain. A friend of mine, he does these video essays, and what he's really good at is having a 40-minute video that has a central thesis that's provocative. And so he has these thumbnails that catch your eye, and then he has a single word that you see it and you either go, yeah, finally, someone saying what I'm thinking, or you see it and you go, this is the dumbest guy I've ever seen on YouTube. And so like a couple from years ago calls a Fast and the Furious movie a disaster. There's a lot of people that watch those movies. He stepped on all of their toes. And then a bunch of people saw Top Gun Maverick and they went, that thing was great. I don't think I have it in one of my graphics. He thinks Amazing Spider-Man 2, the worst Spider-Man movie, is the best Spider-Man movie. That's interesting. Like, all of us are kind of like, that one was pretty weak. He thinks it's great, and he will give you a great defense of that movie. It's interesting. It's provocative. You see it and you go, oh, that's fascinating. All right, if you want people to stick, you need to deliver on the value promised in the title and the thumbnail. You have to deliver on the value. We've all seen the clickbait ones. Guess who died this year? And it's a picture of Hugh Jackman, and you're like, I'm 99% sure Hugh Jackman's not dead. And then you click on it. Of course, Hugh Jackman didn't die, so you leave. Or the thumbnail looks great. You click on the video, and the audio's like, and so you leave. You have to deliver on the value promised. Like, they have to get what they want. And so if you start with 7 minutes of announcements or something, people will leave. You didn't deliver on the title. So, every video needs to be entertaining, useful, or insightful. I'm sure maybe there's some other way that a video can feature, but what do you click on a video for? I want to be entertained. I want to learn something. I want someone's new perspective on the world. So a few years back, my lawnmower broke. I looked at this guy's video. The quality of the camera work and audio, not great. He's not funny at all. He's not entertaining, but he fixed my lawnmower. He was super useful. I watched it 4 times and fixed my lawnmower. Dude, perfect. Not remotely useful. Extremely entertaining. Watched a video from Mr. Beast. They buried him alive for a week. Didn't teach me anything, because when I tried to bury one of my kids alive for a week, I got arrested. No, that didn't happen. But like, it's not useful, but it's super entertaining. And in talking about movies, I'm providing a perspective. So what value do you offer that's unique and distinct? Here's a big one. The lower the effort, the greater the competition. You sit down and just talk to a camera, just freeform it. Everyone can do that. Therefore, everyone's doing that, so there's a lot of competition. My buddy that does the video essays, and he spends like hours and hours and hours writing a script, and they're perfectly edited. That takes a lot of work. Higher the effort, less competition. Now, he can't crank those out daily, but every video that he puts out gets a ton of views. And so, if you're doing the same videos as everyone else, if you're putting in the same effort as everyone else, you compete with everyone else. So you have to find a way where's the place where you're willing to do more than other people? Mr. B said this, typically the harder something is to do, the better it will do. Like you do something, you put a lot of effort into it. And if you put a lot of effort into it, make sure you put a lot of effort into the concept and the title and the thumbnail too. You think, what's more difficult? Madam Web movie review. Actually, that might be difficult because that will mean you have to actually watch Madam Web or all 70 Marvel movies ranked. I did all 58 Marvel movies ranked when Endgame came out. I watched 58 Marvel movies in like 2 months. That's a lot of work. That set of videos also got a lot of views because no one else did that. Everybody does the movie review. Create binge opportunities. Always think, how can I get people to watch multiple videos in a row? Not just one, but multiple videos. Watch the video thinking, what video do I want them to watch next? And tell them, hey, if you liked this video, I also did one about this. We've all had those situations where we found a channel, they had a video that was awesome. We loved it. We went to browse their channel and they have nothing else like that. And you're like, oh, okay. They just did a one-off. If you make an awesome video, have a second awesome video in the same ballpark in the works to kind of join in all of it. So be ready for all that. And yeah, like I said, know exactly which video you want to send people to next. So this is the first section of this. I wanted to give you, I know I moved really fast, talking real fast because we want to give you a lot of great information. I'm gonna have my buddy Cody Leach come up. We're gonna kind of dive into a little bit of what we just talked about and kind of give some practical steps of what that looks like. I said, you have to find an enticing idea. You have to find an interesting idea. Where do you stand out? Where can you deliver unique value? Cody's gonna join in and kind of talk through that. If you can give us your real quick origin story.
Well, I was bit by a radioactive spider when I was 13.
It's true.
No, so I started around the same time as Sean, 2016, August, somewhere in there. And I made kind of the classic mistake. I watch all these YouTube channels, like, you know, back in the day it was Collider, AMC Movie Talk, Schmoes. And I said, I'm just going to do all of that. I'm going to have a movie show. I'm going to have a video game show. I'm going to do movie reviews, top 10s, all this. And you find out, very similar to what he was saying about when you compete with everybody, you kind of don't stand out. And as much effort as I was putting in, and with no experience whatsoever, I'm talking like 8-9 hours to do one video. And it wasn't getting any traction. And it was until like maybe 8-9 months somewhere there into my channel. I've always loved horror, and I've never really come across other horror fans. It's always, everybody likes the blockbusters, or everybody likes some of the obvious picks, like the Terminator movies. And so I just kind of on a whim, I was like, I'm going to do a Nightmare on Elm Street series. And then suddenly I started to see some traction. I started to see a lot of comments, started to see the views go up on the content that I actually wanted to do. And so I kind of pivoted a little bit over time and started to do a lot more focus on the horror genre, because there wasn't as many people talking about horror as there was this exploding Marvel universe and all these other things. And I kind of lived in that space heavily for at least 5 or 6 years. And I still do a lot of horror, but over time I've kind of expanded, try to do a lot more, have a lot more balance, and get back to what I was initially trying to do. But now I have the experience, the following. And it wasn't until I kind of had a focus and just honed in on something that there wasn't as much competition for that I started to see traction and growth.
But even kind of on that point, you think you know more about horror than the average person. So you have a deeper base of knowledge to reference. And so there's some specific audience that you kind of tap into when you kind of niche down and find a specific thing to cover. So that's one of the things people talk about, is kind of finding your niche. It's kind of even just the idea of discovering, what are you specifically good at? What are you willing to do? Where do you have more knowledge that you can kind of go into it? That, you know, there's certain things we all have general knowledge of. If you live in that space, you don't have that much more to offer. But when you have this long history of being a part of a fandom, part of a community, there's so much more there to offer.
Yeah, and on the note he was talking about with finding something that you're good at, or something that you could stand out with, it doesn't have to be something complicated. It's not like you have to be the new Mr. Beast and come up with all these wild ideas. It can be as simple as your personality, which I think is one of the things that makes me stand out. And it's one of the things I've always been kind of complimented on in my comments, is like, I watch you for your personality. I don't even care what you're talking about. And so it can be something like that. It can be that, you know, you're a really good editor and you can make really flashy videos. We have a friend of ours, Charles, that's just an incredible editor, and that's always what makes his stuff stand out. It can be even just your sense of humor, and just little things like that can make you stand out from the other 100,000 channels that are talking about the same thing.
Right. And I think that's figuring out, what are you specifically good at? And you might not even know until you start creating videos. And that's kind of why you have to start trying things to kind of figure out, do you hate extensive editing, or do you love creative editing? Do you have an organic way to be funny in videos? Like I think I'm a lot funnier in real life or live settings than I am on video. Because my specific sense of humor doesn't translate to me staring at a camera by myself in a room. And so in my videos, I'll do stupid stuff with like dad jokes and puns, which is not my actual sense of humor, but it's just, I can lean into this, like, that I'm a dad and that's my brand, but it's not my actual humor. But I'm just trying to think, what's something I can do? Where's something that I can throw something in there? But yet you discover what that is through experimentation. So I mean, you talked about when you started, you tried to do all the different things, and a bunch of them didn't click. And then you found the one through experimentation that just took off.
Yeah. And something that's even more important than that, as you grow, which was the thing that I struggled with the most about 5 years in, right when I was going full time, is that if you start to really hone in on what you're good at, or you hone in on your niche, you'll find yourself just kind of doubling down, tripling down on what you know, what's succeeded in the past. And especially on YouTube, it's so important to continue to evolve. There was a point where I just felt like I was doing the same videos I'd been doing for about 3 years, and I was still doing well, but I had a creative itch, and I felt like there was just something missing. And so as simple as changing your thumbnail style, changing up your editing, maybe your background or your editing style, maybe even just come up with a different video series, continuing to evolve is something that's massively important once you kind of get through the mud of getting traction.
Just that experimentation process, constantly trying new things, and then looking at the data, seeing what didn't work. Like on my channel, I became known for being the ranking guy. That was not really something I set out to do. Like, I don't sit around at home like, kids, let's make some lists. I just did a lot of different things, the same as you. I did movie news show, I did reviews, rankings, and then I looked at it and I went, wait a minute, when I do movie review, it gets this. When I do ranking, it gets this, and this one is 5 times larger than this. I'm not a genius, but 5 is more than 1. Let me do more of that. And it changed the trajectory of my life, but it was through experimentation. And then I kept experimenting. I kept iterating. Like, how do I take this idea that's working and do the next phase? How can I expand this idea? And then likewise thinking, what am I going to do next? I can't rank. There's only so many things you can rank, and only so many times you can rank the Marvel movies. I haven't hit that number yet, but a lot of people think I hit that number about 10 years or 5 years ago. So like, you have to keep trying to discover what's next. How do you add something new into the mix? And so like for me, like I've started reading way more books on the behind the scenes of making movies and just start taking notes. Like I have notes for videos I'm planning on doing in 2025. Like they're over a year out and I have a bunch of notes written about them because I know I'm going to do that video when this movie comes out. And I was reading a book and I went, oh, that's perfect. Let me write that down and saving it just to like have more that I'm bringing in than just the most superficial kind of version of things, but it's constantly learning, growing.
Yeah, exactly. And you find out what your audience wants, like not just the ones that stick around for your videos, but also the ones that maybe come and then leave and don't stick around, or the ones that are drawn to your channel. Like one of the most tying into what he was talking about earlier about finding something that's the level of effort that you don't see everybody else doing. One of my most successful videos of last year, when Saw X came out, I did a video where I ranked every single trap in the franchise, 78 different ones. So you got to go through all the movies, find a picture or a graphic for all 78 traps, figure out something interesting and insightful to say about all 78 of them, edit the video together, get a catchy title.
Fight with YouTube when they
fight with YouTube about why you put this trap at 65 instead of 64. And that video is at like 240,000 views in 3 months. So sometimes you don't even know which ones are going to hit, but sometimes you have an idea like that where you're like, yeah, that's going to work.
And like I've over the years, like each year I try and pick like one big video to do that I literally spend months watching all the movies for it. Almost every single one of those videos is done really well. Because as we talked about before, there's just no competition there. That you're up here above everyone else where no one is putting in that much effort. Therefore, there's not much competition. You're the one person providing it. Supply and demand curves. And the supply of low effort videos is boundless. The supply of high effort videos, very limited. No one is competing with Mr. Beast at what he's trying to do. All right, we got the 20-minute mark. Any final piece of wisdom for us?
Last piece, and this is also something that ties into standing out. It should not make you stand out, but you would be shocked how much it does, is stay true to your opinion, be honest, and don't go for just the most extreme opinion, high or low. If you're somewhere in the middle, own that.
Yeah. Be honest with what your opinion is. All right, coming up next, well, I had an image of Cody and I forgot to click. I could see it in my notes, but you guys couldn't see it, so I messed that up. All right, here we go. This is Chris. I'm actually very excited to pick your brain a little bit. He's had wild success on TikTok, YouTube Shorts. I'm old. I'm in my 40s. I don't watch shorts. I don't understand TikTok. My kids love it. So I'm hoping you can teach me how this whole shorts TikTok deal works. Give us your quick origin story.
Hey, so my name is Chris Bowie, and I run the Film Stock YouTube channel and TikTok. And the interesting thing about my journey is I started in 2019. And I was doing like a Schmoes No bit. You guys know them. They're legends, I hope. And me and a buddy started out the channel, and then the pandemic hit, had to change course, completely course correct. And I was doing the movie reviews, the rankings you guys are talking about, you know, the things that everyone does to start because it's what you know.
Wait,
and
did you just say you were copying me? How dare you, sir?
How dare I? Yeah. But no, so in 2022 is really when my entire channel and everything about social media changed, because when I started, YouTube Shorts were not a thing. And when I started, I didn't have a TikTok. And when I started getting on those two platforms, everything was elevated for me in terms of content creation. And it really took everything to a new level because it's a completely different algorithm. And I can get into that, of course. But when it comes to YouTube Shorts, it's a completely different beast than the long form videos. And I found that. And the reason my channel is really able to grow is because I started doing more shorts. And there are people subscribed to me who know I post YouTube Shorts that do not know my long form content exists. And the thing about shorts that's really neat is you can take a short and post it on TikTok and Instagram. So you're maximizing one idea, you're getting 3 videos worth out of it.
That's why I started TikTok. I was like, oh, there's YouTube Shorts. I'm not going to do TikTok. Oh, wait, YouTube Shorts, I'll do that. Oh, wait, I've already made the video. I can put it on TikTok. I can put it on Instagram. So you put content on 4 different platforms, 1 video.
Exactly. And when it comes to the niche thing, which I know you guys were talking about, obviously we all kind of get our start in a similar area, movies, reviews, rankings. We've all done that, right? For me, Stranger Things was really my niche. It's a show that I adore and I've always loved it. But it wasn't until summer of 2022 when season 4 came out, I was like, there's kind of not really a big market here. And so I started doing it, and it's sort of a trial and error thing. And my advice would be like, find something you love that not a lot of people are talking about. And then once you start to do that, and if you see results and it works and you're growing a community through that, capitalize on that. Don't give up. Keep doing that and ride the momentum wave, I like to call it.
Right. And you said, like, you kind of experiment, you try a bunch of things. That's what we talked about earlier. And then something clicks. And sometimes something will click and it's not the thing you want to keep doing. So early on in my channel, I had a big video take off, my review of Jean-Claude Van Johnson, the Jean-Claude Van Damme Amazon Prime TV show. Now, I go to bed watching Bloodsport probably 200 days per year. My channel is not about Jean-Claude Van Damme at all. If it had been, I would be perfectly happy as I am with the channel I do have. But you figure out what's the thing that you actually want to keep talking about. I don't have that many videos about Jean-Claude Van Damme split kicks that I could make. So I didn't go in that direction. So you have to discover what's the thing you're passionate about, but also that you can keep going down the path, that the well won't dry up too quickly, and you experiment and you discover that. And what will drive you crazy? Where are you willing to play the YouTube game? You have to figure all that out.
No, yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing about TikTok is like, it's a very explosive platform. And so you can have a whole audience of people on TikTok that you can have a whole community with. And then you have your YouTube channel community as well. And you can kind of have 3 going if you're on Instagram. And so you can get a platform on all 3 different social medias. And like I said, the biggest piece of advice is like, it'd almost be foolish not to post that short as a TikTok and a reel, because you can maximize it in my mind.
And I've seen so many different times the way that a different video takes off on each platform. And it's wild. Like one kills it on YouTube, one kills it on TikTok, and a totally different one kills it on Instagram. And you're working 3 different algorithms. All right, strategically, TikTok best practices. I need some best practices so I can figure out what I need to do as an old man.
Well, you said it earlier. You gotta have that thing that, boom, it's provocative and it gets people's attention. You have about 2 seconds maybe on TikTok to get someone's attention before they scroll to the next thing on the For You page. And so my biggest piece of advice would be have a hook immediately, like whether that is a quick sentence being like, is Deadpool 3 gonna stink? You know, whatever it is. Is The Amazing Spider-Man the best Spider-Man movie? And then you rank the Spider-Man films or something. You gotta have like a quick draw. And to me, structurally speaking, on TikTok and Shorts, you got about 60 seconds and you gotta fit a lot of information in. And so consistently having these cuts, like every 2 seconds, getting a new graphic will maintain people's attention span, because we live in a day and age where people won't even sit down for a 2-hour movie without checking their phone. So that's really important structurally. And then really taking advantage of like the hashtags and the trending audios on TikTok, I think.
Dive into that. I don't know what you're saying right now.
Okay, yeah. So if you go to,
I'll keep saying that because I'm 20 years older than you.
Yeah. So if you go on TikTok, you can explore the sound or audio library, and there's a lot of trending ones like in the top 10. And just by using one of those sounds in your background music, as opposed to say the typical background music you might use for all your YouTube videos, you can actually get like more traction just because of that. And if you use hashtags, for example, if you're talking Stranger Things, if you put hashtag Stranger Things, hashtag Netflix, go through all the characters' names, the actors, that is going to get it on people's For You page who have an interest in that topic. And so for movie reviews, you could put, Argyle, Matthew Vaughn, Henry Cavill, all the stars of the movie, and you can use up to a certain amount of hashtags. I think it's 30 on Instagram, unlimited on TikTok, but definitely doing that is a great way to grow on TikTok. And then just post that as a short as well. Even if it's like an out of theater action, this is a huge thing I want to mention, is you can make one idea into a long form video and a short form video. So if you review Argyle, you can do a short review, you can do an out of theater reaction, and you can also do that as long form and 2 long form videos. So you're getting 4 videos, 2 shorts, 2 long out of it, and it's going to grow almost 2 sides of your channels the way I look at it. It's like one path is shorts, one path is long form. The audiences might not always overlap, but it's good to have both of them. That's kind of how I see it.
And they really are 2 different audiences in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And that was the big change I made last year, is going where YouTube very clearly is emphasizing shorts. They changed their monetization to put more money towards it to really compete against TikTok. And if that's what YouTube is like, we're going to start trying to make it so you make more money doing this. That means that's what they're prioritizing. Yeah. So last year I started to think, okay, every video, how can I do it short form and long form? And there's people that they don't watch any of my shorts, but they watch all my long form videos. And there's people that they just watch the shorts. Like they're kind of 2 different audiences. There's people that they don't like. My movie reviews tend to be, 20 minutes long because I'll talk about details and I'll go into the backstory and all this stuff. And then there's people, they just want to know, did you like it or not? Like, what's your reaction to it? Just what, and trying to think, how do you make the version of it for 2 different groups, one idea, 2 different directions, but optimized for each one of those. Like, you had several really good ones. Obviously, the looking at the music, I was like, okay, I can do that. I should do more of that. But the hook, that's so huge because it's on YouTube. You click and people can click away easily, but there's a little bit more where they click, they lean back. This is how you do TikTok and Reels. You're literally doing this. You're designed to just scroll as fast as possible. So in the first second, how do you capture their attention? And that's where I know I need to do a better job of that. Yeah, that's really important because think about it this way. When you make a long form YouTube video, your intro to that video could be a minute long. If you talk about, subscribe, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this movie or this show, and then that's the same length as a short. So you can make multiple shorts a day, post 2, 3, 4 just to feed the algorithm, same for TikTok, and then like a long form video a day. And consistency is key with that because even if you're shy at first or you're nervous, you'll grow, gain that confidence naturally, and then you'll learn the technology side of it as well. And so just taking that first step and starting is the biggest piece of advice I can get. You hear it from everybody, but it is true. What's the difference between Instagram, TikTok, Shorts? What specific advice do you have for each platform? Yeah, so for YouTube, it would be, similar to a long form video, talk about what you talk about. For Instagram, it's still an oddity to me. It's Instagram to me is like an extension of it all, but TikTok is the one that's like got its own algorithm. Yeah. I don't even understand the Instagram algorithm. It's so bizarre. One will get 100,000 views and then one no one will see. It's bizarre to me. Now TikTok, on the other hand, like I said, is just using what the hashtags, the trending audios, the hooks, all that. And honestly, like reposting things is even something I've noticed. If you repost something like an edit of, some Stranger Things characters, that will get that video could show up on someone else who's a Stranger Things fan, and then they might click on your page because they see, I reposted this. So it's almost becoming a little more social in a sense, like a Twitter or something. I've heard you need to post 3 shorts a day if you want to grow. Is that just, I fully believe that because I've done like periods where I won't post anything and then it's like, oh, what? But if you post 2 to 3 to 4, like 2 to 4, we'll call it. Start with 2 a day, you will see those results. Because the thing about shorts I've noticed is that day 1, it might not take off. It might not do well for you. But over a week, it could just catch fire randomly. And I've had a video get 1 million views. I think you've had like a Shrek video that over time. Oh, yeah. The most viewed video on my channel is the Shrek movies ranked short. And the first week, it did fine, but nothing interesting. And then that last Puss in Boots movie started to get traction. And so all of a sudden, this video that did okay, algorithm latched it up, and it goes on, gets over 1 million views. And it was frustrating because I didn't grow up on the Shrek movies. I'm too old. I showed it to my kids. Yeah. And of all the movies I've made that I've read books, months of research to do the video, those don't get 1 million views. That's how it is. It's just random. Yeah, it's the most random thing. And one other thing for TikTok is there's built-in filters for your niche. For movies, there's movie brackets, movie tournaments, all that stuff.
And so if you do that and post it, it'll get out to other movie lovers, and you can take that, post it as a short and a reel. But just starting is the most important thing.
Have you done anything with kind of like there's built-in movie games and stuff? You're like Bob.
Absolutely. That's what I'm referring to. Those filters. So you got like this or that, movie bracket, blind ranking. You fill in the thing. That's huge.
I've meant to. I haven't yet. So you're saying I should start throwing in some brackets, some games, some fun with that?
Yeah, it's fun. It's quick and easy. It's engaging naturally. There's a hook. People see the bracket filter pop up and they're like, oh, I want to watch this whole thing to see where he's going to put these movies.
It's a fun, digestible version of what I do in long form content.
Correct. And that's what the beauty of shorts is. You can have two ideas, short and long, two different audiences.
Final piece of wisdom in one nugget that will change all of their lives. No pressure.
Just start, in my opinion. And TikTok's the best place to do. If you're worried about starting long form videos, start with the shorts to get your foot in the door, get those nerves gone, and then experiment with the long form after that. But just starting, biggest piece of advice I have.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
All right, final section on here, kind of doing a workshop, talking through with impressive toning. So, in your little journey,
yes,
right around, just crossed 2,000 subscribers.
Yes.
So that's proof of concept.
Yeah.
And we're at that point, like, that's where I really think I can help someone. Because if you got 2,000 subscribers, that's a lot of people, but like breaking through at that next level.
Right.
So like when someone starts out, I don't think I have much to offer other than my broad advice. You got to experiment. You're right at the point where I think I can help you. Tell me your origin story. How did we get to where we're at?
Yeah, so I am definitely the baby of the group, despite the fact that I'm definitely not the youngest of the group. But I started on YouTube just because I wanted an excuse to buy more movies on Blu-ray. I figured if I review the movie, then it makes sense to buy it. So I did that for a little while. Then I started to see a little bit of traction, specifically when I started reviewing movies that were in theaters and doing trailer reactions and all that stuff. But that was really the origin of it, and then started to compound from there as I went on.
All right. So we've talked before about many times video chats where we've asked for advice on YouTube. We talked through this. That's where this section kind of came from, of the wisdom that I shared with you seemed like that's the sort of little nuggets. Like when I look at your channel, what do I see? I think that's useful for other people to kind of apply what we talked about. So you guys probably can't read the little numbers on there. These are the most recent shorts that you've put out.
Okay.
And kind of looking at, like, I can't even read it. It's right in front of me on the computer. But so the first short on here, movie review, we talked about this earlier. Movie review, there's tons of competition for movie reviews.
Right.
So it has several hundred views on it, which on the one hand, several hundred is a lot.
Yeah.
But in the next video on there, 2.4 thousand,
right,
10 times as many. More importantly, this morning you posted a short.
Yes.
And it had, you said over 1,000 already?
So I posted a short this morning, and I just checked it before I came on stage. It has 2,500 views on YouTube and TikTok combined.
Right. So you have 2,000 subscribers. This short you posted a couple hours ago has more views than you have subscribers.
Yes.
Which this actually works really nicely because it fits perfectly into this. And this is a part of a different series. What's called?
Yeah. So obviously I'm doing a lot of the movie reviews, rankings, and all that other stuff. But I recently started posting a series on what to watch in theaters and what to watch on streaming over the weekend or whatever. And those have been getting way more views, which reminds me of something that you told me on one of our calls that we had, which was to basically try to find a way to serve the audience. So, anybody can post a review or post their opinion on something, but if you can find a way to help the people that are watching your video or provide them a service or a product or whatever, then that's going to have them come back for more. And so that's what I've been seeing with a lot of these shorts.
And so the video from a few days back, it was a what to watch video.
Right.
The one you posted this morning, what to watch, that is useful. We talked about earlier, it needs to be entertaining, useful, or provide perspective. It's useful. You've done the homework. You did what are the movies coming out this weekend? Especially with the streaming services, there's 1,000 of them and they're all putting out 10 movies a week.
Yeah.
And so you do the research, let people know what it is, and it's digestible. It's real quick. It's a little 1-minute video and they know everything that's coming out this weekend.
Right.
And so that's a place to stand out. And what is that in your niche? What's the useful thing? The questions that people are asking, that's another way to think about it. What questions are people searching for? Make a video that answers their question. All right, next one on here. Actually, let me, okay. What do I do? Okay, yes, okay, there, technology. Next one I want to talk about on here. So here's a bunch of your thumbnails. Kind of break it. Here's what I see when I look at your thumbnails. In a lot of these, you're a little bit too dim. Like I would increase the brightness on you. Like on this one, on this night swim one, where there's a dark background, you're probably a little bit further back because you're leaning to do this. Mm-hmm. And so raise the brightness a little bit.
Right.
And so you'll pop a little bit more. Maybe put a little glow or something that creates just distance between you and the background so you stand out. Another one, I probably wouldn't put the title of the movie there because the title of the movie is right below it. And so if you put a picture that's the Mean Girls poster, right, they'll recognize that, but it also says Mean Girls right underneath it. So it's, you have the image and you have the title, and so you can represent it with an image and the words underneath it. And so how can you use the amount of space you have to do different things to connect with people in different ways?
Right.
But looking at a bunch of some of your other thumbnails, so here's where I think where the word does work. Your most viewed video, what is the worst Transformers movie? So Bumblebee comes out over the summer, and you suggest it is do you think it's the worst?
Well, okay, so this was Rise of the Beast.
Rise of the Beast. Bumblebee's a good one, yeah.
So I made sure to put a question mark in that thumbnail because I was asking the question of, is this the worst Transformers movie? I don't think it is per se, but I discussed that in the video. So it was a little attention grabby, but I do cover that in the video, so it's not clickbait per se.
Most viewed, most provocative. And you have Transformers in there, but it's a question that immediately every Transformers fan, as soon as you say that, like, well, that's not the worst one. I loved this one. Wait, you don't like, you provoked them. And that's what, there's a line. It's always tough to know exactly where do you draw the line between too far. And,
right.
But it's provocative, and it creates an itch in people's brain that they only can scratch by clicking on the video to see what your answer to the question is. Other thing to notice with some of your most viewed videos is that 2 of the 4 are foreign films where there's just fewer people covering those movies. Therefore, supply of reviews is lower. Therefore, you're the only source to meet the demand.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that's also part of that is me just kind of sticking with the things that I'm passionate about. So I am a big fan of Japanese cinema and anime. So finding that kind of niche, it's not necessarily me just thinking of what are people not watching, but it's what are people interested in that I'm also interested in that other people might not be providing.
So like for me, I've had a bunch of people tell me like, Sean, if you start covering anime, your channel will grow so fast. Like you can do, and they list off all these things I could do covering anime to grow my channel. But I don't like anime. Like, I don't enjoy it. And so it would be dishonest, or they would be videos no one would like because it would be like, I didn't get it. I didn't like it. My kids love anime, but I don't. But my wife and I have started watching Indian films. We had a lot of fun. Like every month we go to the movies, and it's like, it's a wild experience. And that's date night every month. Right. But I do enjoy that. And so it's what's a thing that's true to you that less people are doing. And that's a lot of experimentation to figure it out. What do people click on? What do you enjoy doing? What would you doing over and over again?
Yeah.
All right, so we talked many times before. Was there a specific piece of wisdom, insight that popped out to you, specifically like your presentation?
Yeah, so we talked about, finding a way to serve the viewer and to provide a service to them. Another thing I do want to touch on is kind of the barrier to entry, which is to say that I'm not particularly good at public speaking or video editing, or I don't have perhaps an insight that other people don't already have. And that shouldn't stop you from going and producing and creating, because it's really just a matter of being honest with your perspective and consistent with the quality of your content. So as long as you continue to put forth that effort, you will see growth. And it really don't get turned off by the fact that there are people that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers and you maybe necessarily don't. Everybody's on their own journey.
Yeah, everyone's on their own, and you don't get to like. When I started out, like I put out my first movie webpage in 1998, and it was a Jackie Chan fan webpage. It got 1,000 views over a year, and 990 of those were me, and 10 of them were my mother making sure I wasn't doing something weird on the internet. I failed at this stuff for 20 years, had no success. So the first time I hit 1,000 subscribers with this channel actually taking off, 1,000 subscribers. That's a lot of people. That was huge. But I didn't feel radically different when I hit 100,000 versus when I hit 1,000. Like you just start to get used to it, and no one feels like they've arrived. Mr. Beast has over 200 million subscribers. He's like, I'm just starting. He's at the top of the world, and like you never feel like you've arrived. We're all still growing, progressing, and so just if you enjoy what you're doing, keep doing it, keep growing.